Everyone's like, you guys are crazy. Cause I invest in like rental properties, right? Big pain in the butt, you know? You get the property, you got water coming in or whatever the issues are. Land doesn't have any of that stuff. There's no termites, there's no repairs. It just is what it is.
Land is really easy. There's no problems. Let's just go do land instead. One fundamental issue, right? At the end of the day, you sell land. It is a transaction where you end up losing the property.
Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Eat, Sleep, and Invest. I'm your host, Brian Driscoll. I'm here with Logan Swanson. What's going on, Logan?
Howdy, howdy. Glad to be here.
Hey, yeah, you're coming in from Texas, right?
Yes, sir.
Nice. Yeah, we're up here in Pittsburgh. So, hey, everyone listening, normally we're talking about real estate, we're talking about marketing, we're talking about brick mortar, things like that. Today, we're going to talk about land. So, hey, Logan, give everybody a little background on how you got into this space and what all you do.
Yeah, thank you again for having me. I'll try to keep it short and sweet on the bio, but effectively I worked in restaurants and construction for a number of years and was just struggling to gain any sort of wealth or get any sort of time back. I was watching my kids kind of grow up without me being there a lot because I was always working. So I got interested in real estate, not only for the wealth, but hopefully to get a little bit of time with my family. Everybody was talking about flipping homes and renting homes and wholesaling homes. And this is all stuff that I just really felt like I did not have money for. I effectively had, almost nothing in savings at the time. So I went to my one friend who was a real estate investor. And I said, hey, can I get a loan? This is what I'm trying to do. I'm going to go try to buy some land and flip it because I heard these gurus telling me that you could buy land for $100 an acre in the middle of nowhere and bring it to market and sell it for $200, $300, $400, $500 an acre. So I gave it a shot. I borrowed $2,000 and was off to the races. And within 2 years, we had, land holdings in 16 states. We've done hundreds of flips. Now, the market turned a little bit after that. So we got some bumps and bruises along the way, kind of scaled things back down. So it was much more manageable in terms of my day-to-day labor on it. And now we still flip land. We have a pretty sizable inventory of land right now. But we also fund land deals where we're providing the money for other land flippers to do their job. We also do simple subdivisions, buying acreage in the hundreds of acres and subdividing it down into 5-10 acre lots. And we also have a marketing company where we market land for other land flippers, land sellers, agents, brokers, all that sort of stuff.
So in your marketing company, do you help people find land deals or are you helping people that have land deals to sell it?
We're on the dispo side of things. And that kind of happened because there's a lot of influencer guru sort of folks in the land flipping space. And they almost all champion acquisitions, which effectively is because it's easy to educate, right? It's like, all right, you're either going to send a text message, a ringless voicemail, cold call, or send a piece of mail. And then there's nuance kind of baked in there, right? That's most of acquisition. But what happened to me was I got this big inventory of land. And then I was, stuck. I was like, what do I do now? So I had to spin up this big marketing engine in order to sell all my land. And then I just kind of started introducing other people to that mechanism that I had built for myself.
Okay, that makes sense. So what year did you get into land?
2018.
2018. Okay, so what's that, 6 years ago, roughly?
Yep.
What'd your first deal look like? How much did it cost? Like, how'd you find it?
Well, I guess you could say I had two first deals. The one of them, so I bought this course that kind of educated me in the land space, and they gave me a piece of land, really tiny, almost valueless piece of property in New Mexico, I think, or Arizona. I'm guessing New Mexico, actually. And they were like, hey, this is free land. You can go owner finance it, meaning I sell it on a note and collect those monthly payments. And they're like, you can sell it for, $200 down and $99 a month for 2 years, right? Just free land, free money, right? That thing was a damn nightmare to sell. I did eventually sell it, but it was a crazy story. One guy I had sold it to, I think he was maybe schizophrenic or something. He ended up sending us a bunch of handwritten letters telling us we were the devil. Just really a crazy experience. But the first deal we full cycled, meaning we went out and bought it and then we sold it, was in this county in West Texas called Culberson County. It is an enormous county. It's almost entirely privately owned. And it has a very, very small population. So it's kind of ideal for people like myself. And developers had gone out there, I think in the 60s and 70s, and cut up thousands of 5, 10, and 20 acre tracts of land and just run dirt roads to them. Kind of my predecessor, right? People who did then what I do now. And I bought a 5-acre lot. I think I bought it for $300 and I sold it in a week for $2,500. And I was just like, oh, wow, this is actually viable. So then we went back to the same area. We did 5, 10 similar deals. And it was just kind of amazing. So that's where we gained all of our confidence, is just doing the small, affordable deals and actually making a very, very good return.
How'd you find a deal?
Direct mail. So when we started, there was very little competition. I mean, it was sweet. So we would just send a letter to somebody and say, hey, we look up their information on the Central Appraisal District, send them a letter and say, hey, do you want to sell this 5-acre parcel of land in Culberson County, Texas? Here's our offer. Back then, I think it was $70 an acre was our first offers we were sending out. And it was a contract. So all they had to do was put their phone number, their email address, their physical address, confirm it, and then sign it and send it back to us. And we would send that either to title or we'd organize a self-close. And it was that simple.
That's pretty cool because I hear everyone talking about land. Everyone's like, you guys are crazy, because I invest in like rental properties, right? Big
Yeah.
pain in the butt,
Yeah.
You get the property, you got water coming in or whatever the issues are. Everyone's like, land doesn't have any of that stuff. There's no termites. There's no repairs. It just is what it is. So is it that sexy? Like it's that, I mean, obviously there's probably work, there's work to it, but you market for the land. Okay.
Yeah. I can only speak as someone who's never owned a rental. But my business partner, in our funding company, he has, I don't know, dozens of rentals. He has a couple apartment complexes. So he's very experienced in it. And the reason that we ended up connecting is because he hated that sort of landlord life so much, that, this huge portfolio that he had built and worked so hard for now started to really feel like a burden that he was carrying every day, keeping up with all that sort of stuff. So I think he kind of heard the same sort of thing, like, oh, land is really easy. There's no problems. Let's just go do land instead. One fundamental issue, right? At the end of the day, you sell land. Right, it is a transaction where you end up losing the property. So the idea of having a rental is, okay, you get to keep that for indefinitely, right, as long as you want, and it will continue to keep throwing profits for you, or at least revenue for you. Land is different. Now, there is a very small subset of land that I'm anxiously trying to get into, but really don't quite know how to do, which is land leasing in a kind of high profit scenario. And something like that would look like owning maybe commercial acreage near intersection, like, in Texas, it's an off ramp on a freeway onto a busy intersection, and you can cut up pad sites where people will do land leases. And you can make a lot of money over the long term and never lose the asset there. But most people are not doing that. You're buying an asset and then you're selling an asset. So after that transaction, you're kind of left either having to redeploy that money, or you're done. That's it. You're not going to make any more money. Right.
You're talking about the on the side of the road, like a land lease on like something that Wendy's would rent. They'd do like a 99-year lease or something.
Yes. Big money there. And in fact, I've not quite gotten it done yet, but I've architected a couple deals that fell through where we would buy large acreage, subdivide it, sell everything, and then my compensation for the deal would be to keep 2 or 3 of those sort of 1-acre fast food style lots. Because if you hand something like, as far as generational wealth or giving something to my kids, if I handed each one of my kids one of those lots, I mean, that's pretty sweet. That's better than a house.
Right. Yeah, because you're getting the rent on it. You're getting decent rent on it, and you don't have to maintain anything.
Yeah, and it's triple net. Exactly. There's no burden on you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Say someone's listening to this. They've never done a land deal. They know a little teeny bit about it. What would you tell them? Say someone wants to get into investing in land, knows about real estate, but not so much in land. What's a couple tips you can give them?
Well, first off, you kind of have to determine how quickly you want your money to move, right? So the highest profit and the quickest money is to go flip land, meaning you go buy something off market, or I guess some people are doing it with on market deals, but I don't know. I think that's kind of difficult to do. But you go buy something off market, you bring it to market, and you sell it. The devil's in the details there. It's competitive. It's not so easy to go find those deals anymore. But you still can. I still fund those deals on a regular basis. And the velocity on that money is quick. You can cycle through, if you know what you're buying for and you know what you're selling for, you can cycle through the same money 4 times a year, and make 50 to 100% returns each time. That's that's extraordinary. And people do this on a regular basis. So this is not unrealistic or impossible. Now, if you want, say, longer money with maybe a shorter reward where you're not having to be so active in it, you can go just buy a property. This is kind of our favored model right now. You go buy something large acreage and subdivide it down and sell those lots on owner finance. So you become the bank. You start kind of generating that passive income from those notes. And depending on the property you're subdividing, it's not a terribly difficult process. If you have the right property with the right county road frontage, I mean, it's effectively like calling the county planning department and calling a surveyor. And that's the full scope of the development project. But that's longer, right? I mean, you're going to have your money out for a long time. You'll get that nice sort of monthly revenue. You'll get a return on your investment over time, but it's slower. And then there is still risk in that as well. And then kind of the slowest return is to just go buy discounted land and hold it. Land has relatively predictable, steady appreciation. Not any land, but most land, if you kind of know what you're looking for. And it also has very low holding costs. So when I first started in this industry, I was kind of amazed at how many, I would go to county records, right, and research landowners in the area. And especially here in Texas, I would find like one family owns half of the land. And I'd just be amazed at that. Like, how does that ever happen? You know, there's usually a rich history to each one, but they all know that holding on to land is the safest place to them and to a lot of people, myself included. That's the safest place to store your money. So a lot of people, I have regular clients who come to me and just say, hey, I have this much money that I need to lay in bank. What can I buy? So there's all sorts of different options in there in terms of how you can get a return on your money and how quickly you want to do it. But those are probably the three most common.
It's interesting, too. I like what you're talking about with the commercial real estate and leasing the land, because I can get behind that with my head, because I'm looking at, if I buy land and like just own the land, you have a finite, like you can't keep doing it, because like I do the bear market method. I buy properties and I pull the money from the bank. Well, banks aren't going to lend you on it. It doesn't have any income. So you can only buy as much land as you have cash, right?
Or you have to use some sort of like line of credit, or yes, exactly. So you have to get really, that's really why our funding company exists, is because getting money for land deals is its own trick, and it's very expensive.
Right. Which is a good question. Say someone has a good piece of land and they don't have the money. Like, what do you need to do to get financed for land that's different than residential real estate?
So in terms of like wanting to flip it or do some sort of real estate deal with it?
Yeah, well, say either flipping, I'm guessing it's more like a hard money loan, right?
Yeah. So, in flipping, there's a couple different options. And luckily, there's more competition and money is getting cheaper. Typically, you're either looking at some sort of JV structure. That's mostly what we do. So we work with a lot of folks that are new to the flipping industry, so they don't have all of the know-how in order to quickly and profitably negotiate these deals. So I'll take them under my wing. I'll kind of fund the deal. I'll guide them through the process. And what that'll look like is usually a profit share. My company, we started a 65% profit share, where we would retain 35% of the profit and they'd return 65%. And that kind of increases over the life of the transaction. But other people, yeah, they offer hard money loans. A lot of those are starting at like 10% and going up 12, 14, 16%. But almost all of it comes down to the risk tolerance in the deal. And that's where you really have to understand how you're going to underwrite the deal, how quickly you're going to move through the deal, if there's any sort of forced appreciation schemes that need to go into it, et cetera. So yeah, those are kind of your main options, is either hard money or JVing with another investor.
Gotcha. So so land is more like, it's a transaction business. If you want to make money, like if you want to live on it, you got to be flipping. And then you grow into maybe taking some of those profits and holding some land for future appreciation.
Yes, exactly. And that is the main drawback. But for me, that wasn't really a drawback. Like when I was looking at rental homes, I was like, I need something to replace my income, and everybody was, I was trying to do the math, and I was like, I'd have to spend how much money to go buy a house? And, I'd have to pay the mortgage and pay taxes and budget for repairs. And I'd be like, well, I'll make like $100 a month on this house, or 300, 400. If I'm doing really well, I'll make $400 a month. So that means to replace my income, I'd have to have like 15 houses, it just seemed insurmountable. Whereas, when I started with land, we really focused on generating a note portfolio. So we would buy property for $700 an acre or $70 an acre and sell it for $300 an acre cash. But we could sell that for $500 an acre or $600 an acre if we were owner financing it. So we'd take a property, say we bought it for $300. We'd usually sell it for $100 down and then $250 doc fee or something like that. So we'd get most of our money, if not all of the money, out of the deal immediately. And then we would write a note for like 2-3 years. And maybe it was only $99 a month, but that transaction could be done over and over again. And I got it to the point where I was selling land on my website while I was sleeping. So people would go to my website, they'd scroll around, they'd find one they liked, they'd, reserve it. The contract would get sent over to them. They'd fill that out. That would generate and so we grew our note portfolio in rapid succession. And at the time, land was so affordable, it was no problem. Now it's a little harder because land's more expensive. You have to really sort of finesse it to make that very profitable. But the deals are still out there, especially in that sort of affordable land category.
Yeah, and that makes sense too, because then it's kind of like a rental because you got income coming in for a couple of years. If you keep doing it, you got passive income coming in, and you got your money back initially. What type of land works well? I mean, all land probably does, but you figure like, what's your portfolio? The stuff you see, it's like, you know what? Here's ideally the type of land I'm looking for that I know I can do something with.
Yeah, that's a great question. And really the way that we look at things is in terms of, like, I call it a product mix. I'm from restaurants, and a P mix is like all the different ingredients or products that you're selling. You kind of weigh those to generate the financials for your business. For us, we look at properties in a few different ways. So flips, we kind of have two categories of flips. We have cash flips, and then we have note flips. So the ones that we're going to add to our owner finance portfolio. And those are different products. So cash flips for us, the ones that are most successful are still like residential home sites near, within an hour of a major city, hour and a half of a major city, and recreational home sites. So usually around lakes here in Texas. That's a good example. And those, they're half acre up to an acre, and we might buy those for, right now, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 an acre and try to sell them for $10,000, $12,000 an acre cash. And you mentioned this before, land is kind of cash intensive. You always need that cash rolling in order to buy the note properties. And then we would buy those note properties. Those are usually the bigger ones for us because we like generating pretty substantial notes now. We might buy a property for $30,000, $40,000 and then try to write a $100,000 note over that property on like an 8 or 9 year term with 20% down. That means usually we're in profit after year one. Something along those lines. So it's kind of like we're looking at both of those things. We need our cash flips, and that's a separate product from our notes, which is a longer term deal, hopefully yielding a higher overall cash return. And then on top of that, the third tier is our subdivisions. We want 1 or 2 major subdivisions going on. And even within that subdivision, we try to do a mix of cash deals to terms deals to generate as much of that passive income as possible.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Now, so you're mailing letters to people. What kind of list? Like, what are you looking for to find the list of people you want to target?
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty barbaric in this. There's a lot of list creating softwares. We use DataTree for a while. I can't remember this. We quit using them because like homeowner records are actually really good. Land records, especially in the areas I like to work, are really bad. So if the best data is you go to the county directly and it's on their GIS map. Anywhere that is aggregating that data, it will be worse. It'll be transcribed incorrectly because they're pulling data from all these different sources and running it through, spreadsheets and nonsense. And for me, I lost a lot of money just trying to use those softwares because it seemed simple and you could set parameters and like only things with road access and yada, yada, yada. But I ended up getting data that was bad so many times that I was sending mail that was never coming back to me. So I got sick of it after, if you want to hear a story, I was really bold at one point because we were successfully doing deals anywhere I sent mail. And so I started getting sloppier and sloppier. That's just the reality of it. But I was like, all right, I don't own any land in California. So I just kind of threw a dart at the wall, picked a county in California, and I sent mail to every single landowner in the county using DataTree. pulled the information. I think it was like 30,000 records or 40,000 records or something like that. And it was roughly 50 cents to send a piece of mail. So I spent $20,000 sending mail to this county. And all of the acreage, the decimal point was off one. So I was sending mail priced for an acre, but it was for a tenth of an acre. So all these landowners started calling me left and right. Yeah, I'll sell you my land. Yes, I'll sell my land for that price. No problem. I was like, this is great. I scored again. And then I go through and I start looking at it, and I'm trying to renegotiate every single one of these owners down 100%, like to a tenth of, or, it was a nightmare. And effectively, I did end up buying 3 properties, but they're probably the 3 worst properties I ever bought. And overall, I lost a ton of money. So I stepped back and I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, what are you doing here? And I went straight caveman. So all we do now is I pay a virtual assistant in the Philippines to go to whatever county I'm working directly to their GIS map. And I give her parameters for the sort of properties that I want to buy there. So I like, hey, this mailing is for acreage 10 to 50 acres. It has to have road access. It has to be in this corridor. And I'll tell her exactly what I'm looking for. And then she goes and aggregates that list for me. She clicks on each individual parcel, scrolls through, gets the owner's information. Well, she copy and pastes it, so there's no errors, but copy and pastes all that sort of stuff, groups it all for me, color codes it so I can make my offers as effectively as possible, and also removes anything that she knows I won't make an offer on. So if there's no road access, if it's in floodplain, if it's covered in junk or debris or a burnt down house or whatever, she excludes any property that she knows I don't want to buy. And it actually saves me a lot of money. It's cheaper than using a data service because I'm no longer sending mail to people that I don't want to buy property from. And I make sure that my price is accurate. And now, for how competitive it is, you can't just really send a letter and expect to get a good response. So we take that list, we skip trace it, and depending on what sort of campaign it is, there might be ringless voicemails, text messaging, cold calling, all that sort of stuff that's done now to stay competitive.
Yeah. And you know what? That makes me think too, because instead of hiring a VA, like when you're just starting out, which you probably did this yourself also, you can just do it yourself, learn the process and then outsource it, but it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah, 100%.
Doing it yourself.
Yeah. And because really my wife's my business partner. And when she and I got started, we were working every moment of free time we had. And I still remember when she had a full-time job at a printing company and I worked at a restaurant. I had 2 jobs while we were trying to launch this. And she would wake up 2 hours, and we had young kids. She'd wake up 2 hours early before she had to go to work, and she would manually take and build these spreadsheets for me. And then I'd put the offers together and I'd hand sign stuff, and we were folding them and sending them out the mail ourselves. And that's really why we were effective, is because we used the simplest caveman approach to start. Then we thought that couldn't scale. So we tried to use all these other, more simple, more convenient solutions to scale. We lost so much efficacy and made a bunch of mistakes. And then we just went right back to where we started. And that's really kind of been a lot of the journey for me. Go back to what works.
I respect that though. I built our business the same way, because if you do the job yourself, you now can delegate it because you've already proven a model. You just now need to buy back your time, basically.
Yeah. And really, and maybe you're just better than me at this sort of stuff, but I really never found that I could fully delegate the most important aspects of the business. I tried really hard. And every time I did, there was just such a dramatic drop in quality of the work being done. So instead of trying to work myself out of the business completely, which I think would also be very boring for me, I like working, but I think that is the goal of a lot of investors, and that's not really the goal for me. I just try to make a business that is right sized for me today, which means my wife usually works like an hour a day, maybe 2 hours a day, something like that, if she really wants to, or if she doesn't want to, she doesn't. Like, that's her workload level that she's comfortable with. And I like to work 3 to 4 hours a day. I really enjoy that. That allows me to feel like I'm productive and getting things done, but I'm not chained to it. Like, we were just in Hawaii for our 10-year anniversary, and I think I responded to like 5 emails over the week. So it's like the right balance for me. And there's just a couple things that I'm not really able to completely give away because that ends up having such a dramatic impact on the business. It's not worth doing.
It's interesting. We're about out of time here. You have a podcast, so if anybody's interested in hearing like more about land, I'm guessing you talk about way more in-depth stuff there. What's the best way for them to find your podcast?
It's the Land Fixer podcast. It's on all the podcatchers. So if you're Apple, it'll be there, Spotify, whatnot. You can also go to thelandfixer.com, where if you're interested in buying land or you have a piece of property that you want to partner with me to develop and sell and subdivide, I'm pretty much a jack of all trades. Well, not all of them, but most of them as far as land deals go. So if I can't help you directly, I can connect you with somebody who can help you maximize any land that you're trying to do a deal on.
Yeah, cool, man. Hey, well, thanks for coming on. Last question for you. What's the top book you recommend to people?
Most of the stuff that I've been reading recently is on meditation.
Which one you reading on meditation?
Let's do this one. Have you read The Tao of Pooh?
I've not.
For like Winnie the Pooh? Look up The Tao of Pooh. That's an excellent book. Yeah. That's my most recent read, and I've really enjoyed it.
The Tao of Pooh. All right, I'll check it out. I did just, did you ever look into transcendental meditation?
Not yet.
That's interesting. It's different than other types of meditation, but yeah, transcendental meditation. I checked that out about 6. They don't have books on it though. You got it for transcendental meditation. You got to go to like a guy.
A guy.
Yeah.
And do some ayahuasca too.
No, it's not like that. But yeah, I think their website's tm.org. It's really interesting stuff though.
Cool. I'll check it out.
Cool. All right, man. Hey, well, thanks for coming. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. It was a real pleasure.
Good stuff. And hey, everyone out there listening, go check out Logan stuff if you're interested in land. Get out there, crush it, close some deals. We'll see you guys.
Cheers.